The Thanksgiving table at my parents' Connecticut estate was a monument to excess. Imported flowers from Holland, hand-carved turkey platters, wine that cost more per bottle than most people spent on groceries in a month. 32 relatives crowded around the extended dining table, dressed in their holiday finest. I sat near the end in jeans and a hoodie, my laptop open beside my plate. "Seriously, Alex?" my sister Jennifer said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You brought your computer to Thanksgiving dinner? Could you be any more socially inept?" I glanced up briefly. "Just finishing something. I'll close it in a minute." "You always say that," Jennifer continued, addressing the table like she was making a closing argument. She was a corporate attorney at a prestigious firm, and she never let anyone forget it. "Alex has been just finishing something for the past 15 years. Meanwhile, the rest of us have actual careers." My mother sighed dramatically. "Alex, honey, your sister has a point. You're 29 years old. When are you going to get a real job?" "I have a job," I said mildly, typing a few more lines of code. "Playing with computers in your apartment isn't a job," my father said. He ran a successful commercial real estate company and measured success in office buildings and strip malls. "It's a hobby. An expensive one given how much money you've burned through." Jennifer's husband Brad, an investment banker, nodded sagely. "The tech bubble already burst once, Alex. These little startup dreams rarely pan out. You'd be better off getting an MBA and joining a real company." "Like yours?" I asked, still looking at my screen. "Like any legitimate corporation," Brad said. "Somewhere with structure, hierarchy, benefits. Not whatever it is you do in that apartment all day." My younger brother Marcus chimed in. He was 26 and worked in pharmaceutical sales. "Dude, I'm 3 years younger than you and I already make 6 figures. When's the last time you even got a paycheck?" "It's been a while," I admitted. The table erupted in a mixture of laughter and sympathetic sighs. "This is exactly what I'm talking about," Jennifer said triumphantly. "No paycheck, no benefits, no career progression. Just sitting in a dark room typing code that probably doesn't even work." "It works," I said quietly. "Oh really?" Jennifer challenged. "Then what exactly do you do, Alex? Explain it to us in terms normal people can understand. What is this mysterious project you've been working on?" I closed my laptop and looked at her. "I'm developing artificial intelligence systems." Marcus snorted. "Like Siri? Apple already did that, bro." "Not like Siri," I said. "Then like what?" my father pressed. "What makes your AI different from the 1,000 other kids in hoodies who think they're going to change the world?" I considered how to explain it. "I'm working on adaptive neural networks that can learn and evolve without human intervention. Self-improving AI that can solve complex problems across multiple domains simultaneously." The table stared at me blankly. "See," Jennifer said. "Word salad. Technical gibberish that means nothing. This is what happens when someone spends too much time alone with computers and not enough time in the real world." My Aunt Patricia leaned forward. "Alex, sweetheart, have you considered that maybe technology isn't your calling? There's no shame in admitting something isn't working out. You could go back to school, get a teaching certificate perhaps." "I have a PhD in computer science from MIT," I interrupted gently, "and a master's in applied mathematics from Stanford." "Which you're wasting," my mother said sadly. "You could be working for Google or Microsoft making a real salary, but instead you're in that tiny apartment doing whatever it is you do." "The apartment is fine," I said. "It's a studio in Queens," Jennifer said with disgust. "Brad and I have a 4-bedroom in Tribeca. That's what real success looks like." "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "Don't patronize me," Jennifer snapped. "I worked hard to get where I am. I went to law school, put in the hours, made partner track at 32. Meanwhile, you've been playing with computers for a decade with nothing to show for it." My cousin Ryan spoke up. He was a financial analyst. "How are you even surviving, Alex? Rent, food, expenses. Where's the money coming from?" "I have some savings," I said. "From what?" Ryan pressed. "You haven't had a paying job since that brief stint at IBM, what, 5 years ago?" 6 years ago, I corrected. "I left to focus on my own projects." "Projects that generate no income," Brad said. "Alex, I'm going to be blunt because someone needs to give you a reality check. You're burning through whatever savings you have, probably living on credit cards, delusional about some big tech breakthrough that's never going to happen. Meanwhile, life is passing you by. I'm doing fine, I assured him. You're not doing fine, my father said firmly. You're isolated, broke, and wasting your potential. I've been patient, Alex. We all have. But this needs to end. After the holidays, I'm setting you up with interviews at some real companies. Tech companies, since that's what you insist on. But actual jobs with actual salaries. I appreciate the thought, but I'm not interested, I said. The table exploded. Not interested? My mother's voice went shrill. Alex, you don't have the luxury of not being interested. You're nearly 30 with no job, no prospects, no plan. I have a plan, I said calmly. Playing with computers is not a plan. Jennifer shouted. God, you're so frustrating. Do you know how embarrassing it is when my colleagues ask about my family and I have to explain that my brother is an unemployed tech hermit? You don't have to explain anything, I said. Yes, I do. Jennifer insisted. Because we're family and your failure reflects on all of us. Failure is subjective, I said. Brad laughed harshly. No, it's not. Failure is objective. No job equals failure. No income equals failure. Living in a studio apartment at 29 equals failure. These are facts, Alex, not opinions. My laptop chimed with a notification. I glanced at it and felt my pulse quicken. Oh my God, he's checking his computer again, Marcus said. Dude, we're having a serious conversation about your life. Can the computer wait? Just 1 second, I said, opening the notification. It was from my Chief Operating Officer, Diane Chin. Alex, Forbes embargo breaks in 10 minutes. PR team is standing by. Are you sure you don't want to give them a heads up about your family? I typed back. Let it break naturally. No warnings. Who are you texting? Jennifer demanded. Let me guess. Some other unemployed coder friend who's also delusional about making it big? Something like that, I said, closing the laptop. My grandmother, who'd been quiet until now, spoke up. I think you're all being too hard on Alex. So what if the path is unconventional? Some of the greatest innovations came from people who didn't follow the traditional route. Thank you, Grandma, I said. That being said, she continued, Alex dear, you do need to think about your future. Marriage, children, stability. Those things require a steady income. I'll keep that in mind, I said. My father stood up to carve the turkey, still lecturing. When I was your age, I already owned 3 properties. I had a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. I knew exactly where I was going and how to get there. You don't seem to have any plan at all. I have a plan, I repeated. Then share it with us, my mother pleaded. Help us understand what you're trying to accomplish. I considered my words carefully. I'm trying to build something that matters. Something that will change how people interact with technology. Something that will still be relevant 50 years from now. Jennifer rolled her eyes. More vague tech bro nonsense. Change the world, revolutionize everything, disrupt industries. I've heard it all before. You know who actually changes the world? People with real jobs who work within existing systems to make incremental improvements. Incremental improvements are valuable, I agreed. But not good enough for you? Jennifer challenged. You have to swing for the fences and strike out instead of just getting on base like the rest of us? I'm not striking out, I said quietly. Prove it, Brad said. Show us one tangible thing you've accomplished with all this time and money you've invested in your projects. One concrete achievement. Before I could respond, phones started buzzing around the table. Jennifer's phone lit up first, then Brad's, then Ryan's, then several others in rapid succession. Jennifer glanced at her screen and her face went pale. What is it? My mother asked. Jennifer was reading, her eyes moving rapidly across her phone screen. Brad leaned over to look, and his expression shifted from curiosity to shock. Holy shit, Brad whispered. Language, my mother said automatically. What's going on? More phones buzzed. My father pulled out his phone, frowned, and started reading. His face went through several expressions. Confusion, disbelief, shock, and finally something that might have been awe. Alex, my father said slowly, is this real? Is what real? My mother asked, pulling out her own phone. Jennifer found her voice. There's a Forbes article. Just published. About. She trailed off, staring at me. About what? My mother demanded, scrolling on her phone. Then she found it. Oh my God. The table had gone completely silent except for the sound of frantic scrolling and tapping. Marcus held up his phone showing the Forbes homepage. The headline dominated the screen. Tech's newest billionaire. The secret genius revolutionizing AI. Below it, a photo of me from a rare public appearance at an academic conference 2 years ago. This can't be right, Jennifer said, her voice shaking slightly. This says you're worth $8.7 billion. That's impossible. I said nothing. Alex, my father said carefully, what is Neurosphere Technologies? It's my company, I said simply. Your company, Brad repeated flatly. You own a company worth $8.7 billion? The valuation fluctuates, I said. It was $8.2 billion last week. The Henderson acquisition pushed it higher. The room was absolutely silent now. Ryan was reading from his phone. Neurosphere Technologies, founded 6 years ago by Dr. Alexander Chin, has revolutionized artificial intelligence through proprietary adaptive neural networks. The company's AI systems are currently used by 17 of the Fortune 100 companies, 3 major governments, and over 200 research institutions worldwide. 17 Fortune 100 companies? Brad's voice cracked. Which ones? I shrugged. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tesla, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, ExxonMobil, Walmart, Apple. Should I continue? Jennifer was still reading, her hands trembling. This article says you have 847 employees across 12 countries. It says your AI system predicted the COVID-19 pandemic 3 months before it happened. It says the Pentagon uses your technology for threat assessment. The Pentagon contract is classified, I said. Forbes shouldn't have mentioned that. I'll need to talk to PR about it. My mother set down her phone, her face pale. You've been working on this for 6 years? In that apartment in Queens. I started in the apartment, I confirmed. We outgrew it about 4 years ago. Now we have offices in Manhattan, London, Singapore, and Tel Aviv. We're opening a new facility in Austin next quarter. Marcus was doing math on his phone. If the company is worth $8.7 billion and you own 73% according to this article, that means you personally are worth about $6.35 billion, I finished for him. Plus or minus depending on the day. The turkey sat forgotten, growing cold. I don't understand, my Aunt Patricia said weakly. When did this happen? How did we not know? I've been working on it for 6 years, I said. I mentioned it a few times, but nobody was interested in the details. You mentioned playing with computers, Jennifer said. You didn't mention building a multi-billion-dollar empire. You didn't ask, I pointed out. Brad was reading more of the article. It says here you turned down a $12 billion acquisition offer from Google last year. You rejected $12 billion. The offer was actually $14.2 billion, I corrected. But yes, I turned it down. Neurosphere is worth more than that, and I'm not interested in selling. My father had found another article, this one from TechCrunch. It says you're considered the leading expert in adaptive AI systems. That you've published 47 peer-reviewed papers. That MIT wants you to head their new AI research institute, but you declined. I declined because I'm busy running Neurosphere, I said. Though I do lecture there occasionally. Jennifer was scrolling frantically through multiple articles now. Bloomberg has a profile on you. The Wall Street Journal has an analysis of Neurosphere's impact on enterprise AI. Wired has a technical deep dive on your neural network architecture. She looked up at me, her expression completely transformed. Alex, you're famous. In the tech world, you're actually famous. I prefer to stay out of the spotlight, I said. Though apparently that's getting harder. Ryan had found my Wikipedia page. It says you gave $500 million to MIT for AI research last year. $500 million. It was actually $520 million, I said. But they rounded down for some reason. You donated $500 million and didn't tell anyone? My mother said faintly. It wasn't a secret, I said. MIT announced it. There was a whole ceremony. I invited you all, but nobody could make it. The table sat in stunned silence. Wait, Marcus said suddenly. That apartment in Queens. You said it's a studio. Why are you living in a studio if you're worth billions? I don't live there anymore, I said. I moved out 3 years ago. I kept the lease because I like having a quiet place to code sometimes. No interruptions. Where do you live now? My mother asked weakly. I have a place in Manhattan, I said. Near the office. Brad was searching property records on his phone. A place in Manhattan. Alex, do you own the penthouse at the Greenwich Lane? I own the building, I said. Well, Neurosphere owns it. Corporate headquarters are on floors 1 through 12. I live on the top floor. Jennifer's voice was barely a whisper. You own an entire building in the West Village? It made financial sense, I explained. We needed office space and buying was more cost-effective than leasing long-term. The penthouse is a perk, I suppose. My father had gone very quiet. He was reading article after article, his expression changing with each one. There's a profile here, he said slowly, from Harvard Business Review. They interviewed 50 tech CEOs about the most innovative minds in the industry. Your name came up more than anyone else's. More than Elon Musk. More than Sundar Pichai. More than any of them. That's flattering, I said. Flattering. Jennifer's voice cracked. Alex, you're apparently one of the most important people in technology and we had no idea. How did we not know this? You never asked what I was working on, I said simply. You just assumed it was nothing. The truth of that statement hung in the air. My grandmother spoke up, her voice quiet but clear. I asked Alex, do you remember? 2 years ago at Christmas. I asked what you were working on. I remember, I said, smiling at her. You actually listened to my explanation. You're the only one who did. You told me you were teaching computers to think, she said. I didn't understand it, but I could see it mattered to you. It did, I said. It does. Brad had moved on to financial analysis. The Forbes article estimates Neurosphere's revenue at $4.3 billion annually. Alex, what's your actual revenue? We don't publicly disclose financials since we're privately held, I said. But that estimate is reasonably accurate. We'll probably hit $4.8 billion this fiscal year. $4.8 billion in revenue, Ryan repeated. What's your profit margin? Around 34%, I said. We reinvest heavily in R&D, which keeps margins lower than they could be. But innovation is more important than short-term profits. Marcus was adding up numbers on his phone. 34% of $4.8 billion is over $1.6 billion in annual profit. You personally make over $1 billion a year. It varies, I said. But yes, roughly. Though most of it gets reinvested into the company or donated to research initiatives. Jennifer had tears in her eyes now. I called you a failure, she whispered. I told everyone you were an embarrassment. I said you were wasting your life. You didn't know, I said gently. I should have known, she said, her voice rising. I should have asked. I should have believed in you. Instead, I just assumed that I was a failure, I finished. I know. You all did. My mother was crying silently. My father looked like he'd been punched. Brad had gone pale. Marcus couldn't stop staring at his phone, scrolling through article after article about my success. Why didn't you tell us? My father finally asked. Why did you let us think you were struggling? I considered the question. I tried to tell you, Dad. Multiple times. But every time I mentioned my work, you changed the subject or dismissed it as a hobby. Eventually, I stopped trying. But you could have insisted, my mother said. You could have made us listen. Could I have? I asked. Think about it. If I'd walked in here today and announced I was worth billions, would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was delusional? The silence was my answer. You decided who I was, I continued quietly. The unsuccessful son. The embarrassment. The one who couldn't get a real job. Nothing I said was going to change that perception because you didn't want it changed. You needed someone to look down on, to feel superior to. I filled that role. That's not fair, Jennifer protested weakly. Isn't it? I asked. You literally called me an embarrassment 15 minutes ago. You said my failure reflected on you. You didn't ask about my life, my work, my goals. You just assumed I had none. More phones were buzzing as the Forbes article spread. My cousin Sarah, who'd been quiet until now, held up her phone. Alex, people are sharing this everywhere. It's trending on Twitter. LinkedIn is exploding with people claiming they knew you. They'll claim all sorts of things now, I said. Ryan was reading comments on various articles. The tech community has known about you for years, apparently. There are Reddit threads from 2019 calling you the ghost genius because you never do press. People have been trying to figure out who you are. I prefer to let the work speak for itself, I said. Brad had recovered somewhat. Alex, I apologize for earlier. I was completely out of line. If I'd known. You'd have treated me differently, I interrupted. I know. But here's the thing, Brad. I'm the same person I was an hour ago. The same person I was when you called me delusional. The only thing that's changed is your knowledge of my success. He had no response to that. My father stood up abruptly. We need to discuss this. Alex, after dinner, you and I should talk about. About what? I asked. Investment opportunities? Business connections? Ways you can leverage my success. His face reddened. That's unfair. Is it? I asked. Dad, you've barely spoken to me in 3 years except to criticize my choices. Now suddenly you want to talk. What changed? I didn't know, he said helplessly. You didn't ask, I corrected again. Jennifer's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and her eyes widened. It's my senior partner. Why is my senior partner calling me on Thanksgiving? She answered tentatively. Hello. Yes, this is Jennifer. What? Oh, yes, he's my brother. What? You want to pitch for Neurosphere's legal work? I don't know if, yes, of course I'll ask. She hung up and looked at me with something close to desperation. My firm wants to pitch for your legal business. The senior partner is asking if I can arrange a meeting. We already have excellent legal counsel, I said. But I appreciate the interest. Alex, please, she said. This could make my career. If I brought in an account like Neurosphere. Your career is already successful, I pointed out. You're on partner track at a prestigious firm. You told me that yourself, remember? Right before you called me a failure. She flinched. More calls and texts were flooding in. Brad's phone rang, his managing director. Marcus got a text from his company's CEO asking if he could arrange an introduction. Ryan's firm wanted to discuss investment opportunities. Suddenly everyone in my family was very interested in what I did. My Aunt Patricia recovered her composure first. Well, she said brightly, we always knew Alex was special. All that time spent studying, working, innovating. We're all so proud. Are you? I asked quietly. She faltered. Of course we are. Your family. Family that called me an embarrassment 10 minutes ago, I said. Family that suggested I get a teaching certificate because I obviously wasn't cut out for technology. Family that laughed when I said I was working on something important. The table was silent again. I think, I said, standing up and closing my laptop, that I'm going to leave. Thank you for dinner. Alex, wait, my mother said desperately. We're sorry. We're so sorry. Please don't go. Let's talk about this. What's there to talk about? I asked. You've made your opinion of me very clear over the years. The only thing that's changed is that now you know I'm wealthy. But I'm still the same person I was this morning, Mom. The same person you've been dismissing and criticizing for the past decade. We made mistakes, my father said. We misjudged you. But we're family, Alex. That has to count for something. It could have, I said. If you'd shown me basic respect when you thought I was struggling. If you'd asked about my work instead of mocking it. If you'd believed in me even a little bit. But you didn't. And now that I'm successful, suddenly I'm worth your time. I picked up my laptop bag. Where are you going? Marcus asked. Back to the city, I said. I have a board meeting tomorrow morning. One of our AI systems identified a potential breakthrough in cancer research and we need to coordinate with our partners at Johns Hopkins. On the day after Thanksgiving? Jennifer asked. Cancer doesn't take holidays, I said. Neither does innovation. My grandmother stood up and walked over to me. I'm proud of you, Alex. Not because you're wealthy but because you stayed true to yourself. You believed in your vision when nobody else did. I hugged her. Thank you, Grandma. That means a lot. Will we see you at Christmas? She asked. I looked around the table at the faces of my family. Some looked ashamed. Some looked desperate. Some looked calculating, already thinking about how to benefit from my success. I'll think about it, I said honestly. I walked out to my car, a Tesla Model S that Jennifer had mocked when I arrived. asking if I'd splurged on a rental to impress everyone. As I drove away, my phone rang. Diane Maisu. How'd it go? She asked. About as expected, I said. They found out via Forbes. The reaction was dramatic. Want me to add them to the no-contact list for PR purposes? Not yet, I said. Let's see how they handle this. People deserve a chance to surprise you. You're more generous than I'd be, Diane said. Any family that treats you like that doesn't deserve. They're still family, I interrupted. Complicated, flawed, but family. We'll see. Fair enough, she said. By the way, the Forbes piece is already at 3 million views. Twitter is calling you the real-life Tony Stark. And we've received 847 LinkedIn connection requests for you in the past hour. Ignore them all, I said. I didn't build Neurosphere for publicity. I know, Diane said warmly. That's why you're so good at it. Most tech founders are trying to be famous. You're trying to solve actual problems. Speaking of which, did the Johns Hopkins team confirm for tomorrow? They did. 9 a.m. at our Manhattan office. They're bringing their entire oncology research division. Perfect, I said. I'll review the AI's findings tonight and prepare a presentation. Alex, Diane said hesitantly, you know you could take a day off, right? You're a billionaire. You could retire tomorrow and live off your wealth forever. And do what? I asked. The work is the point, Diane. The money is just a byproduct. She laughed. That's why you're the boss. See you tomorrow. I hung up and drove back to Manhattan, leaving my family's estate behind. The Forbes article continued to spread. By the time I reached my building, it had been shared over 1 million times. My phone was flooded with interview requests, speaking invitations, and business proposals. I ignored them all. Instead, I went up to my penthouse, changed into comfortable clothes, and opened my laptop. The Johns Hopkins presentation wasn't going to write itself, and our AI had identified something potentially revolutionary in how cancer cells communicate. That was worth more than any amount of family validation. Around midnight, I got a text from my grandmother. They're all in shock. Your mother is crying. Your father looks 10 years older. Jennifer has locked herself in the bathroom. I think you did the right thing leaving when you did. Sometimes people need to sit with their mistakes. Love you, Grandma. I smiled and texted back. Love you too. Thanks for always believing in me. Grandma, I believed in your character, not your success. The success was inevitable for someone with your integrity and intelligence. See you at Christmas, I hope. Another text came in, this one from Jennifer. Alex, I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything right now. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to know that I see now how badly I treated you. How dismissive I was. How cruel. You deserved better. You deserved a sister who supported you. I failed you. I'm sorry. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Thank you for saying that. I need time to process everything. Let's talk after the holidays. Jennifer, of course. Take all the time you need. And Alex, congratulations. Not on the money. On building something that matters. On staying true to yourself. On being exactly who you wanted to be. I'm proud of you even though I have no right to be. That message made me tear up a little. My father texted next. Your mother and I would like to meet with you next week. Not about business. Just to talk. To understand. To apologize properly. Would you be willing? I thought about it. Maybe in January. I need some distance first. Dad, I understand. We'll wait as long as it takes. I'm proud of you, son. I should have said that years ago. Marcus sent a simple message. You're my hero, bro. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Brad sent. I was completely out of line. You don't owe me anything, but if you're ever willing to grab coffee, I'd like to hear about your actual work. Not for business reasons. Just because I genuinely want to understand what you've built. The messages continued into the early morning hours. Extended family, old friends who'd seen the articles, former colleagues, even people I'd gone to high school with. But I set them all aside and focused on the work. Because at the end of the day, that's what mattered. Not the validation. Not the recognition. Not even the money. The work. The innovation. The potential to change lives through technology. That's what I'd been doing in that sad little apartment for 6 years while my family mocked me. And that's what I'd keep doing whether they understood it or not. By 3 a.m. I'd finished the Johns Hopkins presentation. The AI had identified a pattern in cellular communication that could revolutionize how we treat certain cancers. If we were right, we could save thousands of lives. That was worth more than 1 billion Forbes covers. I went to bed satisfied not because my family finally knew my worth, but because tomorrow I might help cure cancer. That was the real success. Everything else was just noise.